What in the Duggar-sized shit is this?
I don't know. Maybe Emily Henry and I bonfire differently, but we're not on speaking terms at the moment. Welcome, everyone. You've stumbled upon my booktube channel. My name is Baron, and this is my booktube channel, The Book Baron. Welcome in. In real time, I just got done with a dark romance rating vlog that did not go the greatest. We had a good one, we had a bad one, and we had a terrible one. So I wanted to do some anticipated releases that I was really excited about. I'm just going to quickly intro those books and then we'll get into vlog footage. First up, I started reading Reckless by Elsie Silver. The reason I have a cowboy shirt on right now. This is the fourth book in the Chestnut Spring series. It can be read as a standalone, however. I do want to say that. A lot of the characters are tied to the folks in Flawless, which is the first book. So our hero for this book is Theo, and he's a professional bull rider and the protege for Rhett, who is from the first book. I called him an understudy during my June TBR because I couldn't think of the word protege. It haunts me at night occasionally still, so we've got Theo. He's a bull rider. He's kind of a happy-go-lucky type of guy. He's a goofball. He's a ladies' man. He really wants to get together with Winter, who is Summer's older sister, and Summer is the one from Flawless. I feel the need to state that I think these names are stupid. Winter is a bit too on the nose because she's a cold girl. She's a girl boss. She's a doctor. And in the opening of this book here, Winter's going through a divorce because her soon-to-be ex-husband is an absolute butthole. He's truly the worst. Winter is known for being quite cold, but realistically, we've been able to get some hints throughout the series that she's really not that cold. She's been pretty abandoned and on her own and had to fight for herself. So these two end up having a one-night stand and then agreeing that they are never going to speak about it again. But Winter's pregnant. So we've got surprise pregnancy, reverse grumpy sunshine. Next up, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. As you can see, I have a couple of Emily Henrys back here. I do really enjoy her books. People We Meet on Vacation wasn't my favorite, but in general, I really like her stuff. Beach read is my favorite. I'm a beach read gal. So we've got Harriet and Wynne, and the main tropes that we're going to be dealing with here are friends to lovers, which sort of turns into like enemies to lovers, second chance, and fake dating slash fake engagement, question mark. So we've got Wynne and Harriet were engaged and they share a lot of the same friends. Harriet's kind of a busy girl boss, doctor gal. She recently broke up with her fiance, Wynne, and she hasn't gotten around to telling her friends. Her and Wynne have been long distance, so her friends think that they're pulling a solid for her and invite Wynne on their friend vacation that they take every year. They do the same activities in this small town and just enjoy being in each other's company again. This is their way to reconnect and have a good time for 1 week every year. On this vacation, there's a couple of big announcements. A couple of their friends are getting married and really look to Harriet and Wynne for inspiration in their relationship because one of the gals really didn't think that she would ever get married. And they also find out this is their last time at the vacation property because the person that owns it is planning to sell. So in order to preserve this happy place and preserve the time together and make sure everyone is still having a good time, Harriet and Wynne agree to not tell anyone that they've broken up until after the vacation is over. Again, a little bit of fake dating situation, faking engagement situation, a little bit of second chance, a little bit of enemies to lovers. So that is Happy Place. And the last one is sitting just behind me here. It's Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is the second book, and I don't know the name of this series. I think it's called Part of Your World series. The first book is literally called Part of Your World, and I really enjoyed this. I have family that's from Minnesota, so I knew where a lot of these landmarks were, and I thought that was very fun. But in this book, we have Dr. Brianna Ortiz. For anyone who's read the first book, it's the friend of the heroine from that book, is having a little bit of a rough time lately. Her brother's very sick and needs a kidney. She's also up for a promotion, and she's also just had her marriage implode because she found out her husband was cheating on her. Wait, I just realized that all of these heroines are doctors and their relationships suck. Do I have a medical case? Is that a thing? Something to unpack later. Anyway, she's kind of going through a rough time, but she's up for a promotion, so she's really looking forward to that. His girls worked hard for it. In walks Jacob. He is transferring from another ER because where he was working, he had to work with his brother and his ex-girlfriend who got together. And at the opening of this book, we find out that they're getting married. So those two suck. So he's looking for a fresh start, but his first day does not go well. He loses literally every patient that comes his way. He has anxiety, so he's having a hard time communicating with the nursing staff, so everyone's just like, we hate him. Jacob kind of gets off on the wrong foot with everybody. What's happening here is we have a little bit of an enemies to lovers workplace situation, because these two are both so distracted with their own crap that they end up kind of inadvertently being a little mean to each other. And one day they both turn to the same closet to have a good cry and run into each other in there and realize maybe there's a lot more going on with the other person. They start leaving little notes, so it's a little bit of a pen pal situation. There's also some fake dating in this one. Those are the 3 books that I'm planning to read for this vlog. I'm going to jump into the vlog portion, and we're kicking things off with Reckless.
Hi friends. I'm just getting ready for an appointment. So we're in my bathroom. So if it's echoey, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. But I did want to update you on Reckless. I'm loving it. I was hooked from like the first line. The banter is top notch. I still maintain that Winter's name is too on the nose and that it's stupid when paired with Summer. That said, my parents named me Baron, so we're all just out here trying. There was one weird detail. Winter has a 10,000 square foot home. I was like, what in the Duggar-sized shit is this? For 2 people? Winter, what are you doing? A jarring detail to read. That aside, I'm a hoe for banter. I love their banter. Theo is the best. He reminds me of a lot of my guy friends who are just like, they're goofy, flirty. They're just like trying to have a good time. Winter is good. I like her characterization because she is prickly, but you kind of get this internal dialogue of her kind of struggling, right? Where she doesn't want to be defensive, but she doesn't know another way to be. I felt like the way that Elsie captured that internal battle of like realizing that the defense mechanisms and the tools that you're using are no longer working for you, but you don't know how to stop using them. And Winter kind of like going, I want to be nice. Oh my God, what did I just do? I'm having a great time, guys. Oh, minor spoilers here. So I'll put something here so that you know when you can jump back in if you don't want to hear them. The thing that I liked about the secret baby surprise pregnancy situation is Winter desperately wants to be a mom and it wasn't happening. So she was excited. She was like, you know what? This isn't happening how I wanted it to, but something's finally going my way. I'm going to have a baby. And I was like, oh, I loved that. I don't think I've ever seen that attitude in a surprise pregnancy. The other thing was she did try and reach out to Theo. I don't want to say too much, but she did make attempts to get him involved. It wasn't like she made a unilateral decision to just go ahead and like have this baby on her own because she just needs something for herself. She wanted to share this with Theo. It didn't quite work out. Guys, I'm having such a good time. I think this might be a 5-star. I'm gonna try and get 50% in and update you because otherwise I'm gonna update you like every 10 pages about how much I'm loving it.
Hi friends, I'm back to update you on Reckless. I apologize if I don't have my normal like peppy attitude. I went to Pride last night. I'm very tired. I'm used to getting 9 hours of sleep, and staying up till midnight just doesn't work for my crusty body. She's feeling tired. But I did want to update you. I'm 60% into Reckless at this point, and we had a time jump shortly after I stopped chatting with you last time. So we are 18 months ahead now. So we're through the pregnancy and into babyhood for Vivi, the baby. So Theo is now back in their lives, but they have not had contact during this time. I don't want to get into details on like what all goes on because spoilers. The thing that I'm really loving is Theo really just loves Winter for who she is. There's a lot of people that in her life are either trying to change her, need something from her, or just aren't loving on her very hard. Like there's a lot of people around to help her with Vivi, but she's like not ready to be vulnerable with them just yet or even ask for something. She really feels like this is something that she needs to do herself. And that kind of is coupled with like she's pretty aware of how she comes across as a person. She's aware that people kind of see her as like a B word, you know what I'm saying? Because she's aware of that, like she just kind of holds herself at a distance. And at the same time, because no one's like loving on her too much, but the Eaton family in Chestnut Springs, they like want to be there, but also they do kind of hold themselves a little bit more distance. And I think Winter can kind of read the room and she's getting the vibes, but she's also like kind of creating the distance herself a little bit too. Hopefully that makes sense. She just feels like an interloper and that like she's the nasty mean sister in comparison to Summer, who's like summery and bright and sweet. Theo jumps in right away and wants to do everything. His mom was a single mother because his dad passed, and so he just has a lot of respect for the fact that she's been doing this on her own, but he also recognizes that she's exhausted. She's exhausted, and he pays attention to the little things and just tries to help out in little and in big ways pretty consistently. The thing that I really love too about their relationship and their dynamic is Theo loves her personality. He doesn't see that as a detractor like a lot of people do. When people get on her case about how she's snarky or cold, he is very quick to defend her. In fact, at one point he was like, "That's the mother of my child. How dare you?" I was like, "Ooh, Theo, wow, that was very sexy." And there are people that don't take the reveal of Theo being Vivi's dad. They don't take it very well, and they go to blame her really for the situation. And he's like, "No, not today. We're not doing this," which I really, really loved. I think the other thing that's really sweet too is he's really pushing her to be a better advocate for herself, whether that's asking for a break, whether it's opening up to her sister, pushes her to talk about it. She does a lot of stuff because she feels like she might be a burden because so many people have needed things from her. Theo is just like, "Look, I just need you to like take care of yourself." He's so sweet with her. Just doesn't understand why this sweet guy, this bubbly guy, like loves her, you know. And for him, her personality, whether she's being snarky because she's like bantering, and that's just how she is in the situation, whether it's because it's a coping mechanism, he just calls it out and he's just like, "You know what, you're doing the best you can. Like, you're feeling overwhelmed. Like, it's okay." Like he just does such a good job of just like really seeing Winter and not wanting anything from her, not needing her to change in any way. And I just think it's a really beautiful dynamic that they have. So that's kind of the update for the moment with Reckless. I also have an update on Happy Place because I don't know why. Reckless was not downloaded and I had an appointment, and so I just started Happy Place. So I'm not that far in. I think I'm like 30% in, but the main premise of this entire thing is basically just the like fake dating situation that they're in. I did think that the setup was probably going to be a little weird, only because like when I heard the kind of the bullet points, I was like, I don't know. This just doesn't sound very realistic. Like, how would your fiance be surprise invited to something and then you hadn't communicated about it, but they were long distance, I guess, prior to the breakup. So it does make a little bit more sense, and Your Honor, I'll allow it. So the setup is fine. Planning to kind of like hold off on telling everyone. She's been really busy. She's a resident, and residents work like 8 hours. So I kind of understand that she's just not been in touch with her friends, and it's not anything malicious. She's not trying to withhold. It's literally just, she's like, "I'm so tired. The last thing that I want to do during my time off is then like dredge up like negative stuff." So even that felt like, okay, I can kind of see that. I can kind of understand that. Honestly, the most unrealistic thing so far has truly been, at one point, Harriet, the main character lady, or at like a bonfire on the beach, she volunteers to like go grab the next 6-pack. And I was like, just a 6-pack? There's 6 of you. I don't know. Maybe Emily Henry and I bonfire differently, but I thought that was a bit odd. I was like, get a 12-pack, get a rack. Anyway, so far I am really liking it. The friendship group is just, they're very goofy. They're very funny. It's got Emily Henry's signature banter to it. Her way of describing emotion and feeling and situations, the metaphors that she uses are really unique and lovely. So if you haven't read an Emily Henry before, like just go pick up the one that has the best tropes for you, that you think you'll like the most. She really does have a fantastic writing style that I think it really just makes her books very engaging, and I think that's part of the reason that they're really so popular too. She really did a good job of capturing that sort of like confusion of someone that you've been close with but aren't anymore, of like slipping into those like comfortable patterns and then kind of going, "Oh, wait a second, like we're not there anymore." And that kind of like little bit of like back and forth where you find yourself in these like old conversations, these old patterns, these old habits, and then all of a sudden like just the awkwardness of that. One flag that I'm gonna put on the plague currently actively right now is that Wynn and Harriet don't seem like they're very good at communicating with each other. I can't tell how much of that is just they've been broken up and they've got their walls up, and how much of that has always been part of their relationship. The other thing, the hero has like no self-esteem. It's kind of hard to read, to be honest. So that's kind of my update for the moment. Again, I'm only like 30% in at this point. update. So I'll update you when I'm closer to like the 75% mark. I'll be back soon. Bye. Hi friends, I'm back with an update on Happy Place. I am 77% in. I'm nearly finished, and I'm not having nearly as good of a time in this second half, unfortunately. I was having such a good time at the beginning. I love Emily Henry's banter. I know I keep saying that, but it really is. Well, hello, sir. That's rude. That's my cat. But I was having a really good time. I really was just enjoying Emily Henry's writing again, and I loved the friend group. And then I wouldn't say that there was like a definitive point where I stopped enjoying myself as much, but the thing that I really hated and made it hard to cheer for these two was the fact that they were keeping a lot of secrets from each other. Are entitled to your feelings and you don't need to tell your partner everything. But with this kind of stuff, it was impacting the relationship, in which case your partner has a right to know. And to me, I'm like, your partner should be the person that you can tell everything. Like, you should be able to knock out all four of your front teeth and they'll be like, you're still the hottest hillbilly I know. That's the kind of partnership that I desire from contemporary romances. Like, I get that these issues were realistic, right? It just made it difficult to cheer for the relationship. It got frustrating when you could blatantly see the miscommunication that was happening, and then it sort of resolve it, but then you could see them actively miscommunicating again. And I was like, are you kidding me? We just talked about this. Like, that wasn't cool. I'm sad because I'm just not having as good of a time. I still think the banter's top notch. So when I don't think too hard about the relationship, then I'm okay. But I'll update you when I read this last 25%. Maybe it turns around. All right, see you soon. Hi friends. I got some good natural lighting going on right now, so I thought I'd take advantage of it. I'm also done with both Reckless and with Happy Place. So I'm gonna update you on Reckless first. The last like 40%, things really happened pretty rapid fire from that point onward. There was a lot going on. And the thing that I really liked about this ending like portion was that Winter really had her own opportunity to show up for Theo after she had been loved on and like understood what two people loving each other looks like in a relationship and how that can be for her. There was like a circumstance that came up and she was like, I can be there for Theo now because I understand how he needs me and I know what to do now. And she doesn't go on the defensive. She's like, no, we're gonna tackle this. We're gonna get this figured out. I think Winter and Theo are some of my favorite characters from this entire series. I did love the chemistry with like Willa and Cade from Heartless. I think as individuals, Theo and Winter are my favorites. And I actually filmed my monthly wrap up before I filmed this clip. I said on there that I was gonna have my rating be a 4-star because it didn't have that little like extra kick. I attended a live show and got to talking with some folks about it, and you know what? It is a 5-star. I don't know why I'm trying to be like stingy with the 5 stars. It's, I think, one of my favorites in the series. Heartless, I still think the chemistry is a little bit more powerful in that book, but I think the characters in the story here I just loved so much. And there can be 2 5-star books in a series. Sometimes someone is just that good. I think this is one of those scenarios. So I rescind my earlier comments and I'm giving it 5 stars. On to some less good news. So last I updated you, I was like 77% into Happy Place, and Happy Place quickly became a sad place. And again, it's not that I dislike this book. There's a lot of elements to love. Again, Emily Henry's banter is phenomenal. Her style of writing, beautiful. I love it, especially towards the end. I think for me, this story just read too women's fiction-y and was really focused a lot more in this last portion on the friendships and a lot of the relationship issues that came up there, and Harriet kind of finding herself again, which are all fine, good topic storylines that needed to be wrapped up. But it really felt like the romance by the end was a footnote in this book. I think this is a scenario too that would have benefited from being dual POV, because I think the focus would have felt like it's more on the relationship, and I think some of the miscommunication points wouldn't bug me as much because it wouldn't feel like a bunch of information was withheld from us audience, because there was a lot going on with Wynn that I felt like I needed more insight into, and I think I needed to just be inside his head. I think for that reason I'm settling on a 3.5. Normally I would rate rate this type of book a 3, but I think because I love Emily Henry's writing, I'm like edging it up a half star. So that's where I'm landing with that one. Hi friends, sorry for the super weird shot, but I just wanted to let you know I am going to move on to yours truly at this point, and I'm going to update you at the 50% mark because otherwise this is going to be a million years long and nobody's going to watch it. See you in a bit. Hi, I'm back. And I have an update for you on yours truly. So it's the next day. I'm about 50% in at this point, and we find out pretty quickly how the big dating situation happened. So I was like happy about that since it wasn't really clear on the back of the book or in any like write-up that I had seen about it. I'm really loving like the pen pal like situation that they had going on that got their relationship really like kicked off and got them on like good terms. The banter was good. I don't think it's like Emily Henry levels of banter, but it's like really solid humor. It gives you a good feel for the characters, their personalities. They're both coming in with quite a bit of trauma and baggage. You know, for Jacob, he's coming in with a lot of anxiety, which kind of like challenges the relationship in certain ways. And Brianna's coming in with some damage just with like long-term relationships because of her like divorce. And also we find out that her dad isn't present in her life. So she's just kind of in like a burn all men situation at this point in her life. I also like that the book is pretty self-aware. When the fake dating situation crops up, like there's a lot of jokes made about like the only one bed trope and this is a rom-com, and the book is like acknowledging that the setup for this is something that only happens in a book, which I always love when a book is very self-aware like that. I am getting some of my fill of Minnesota goodness. There's been references to Juicy Lucy's, the North Shore up by Duluth, and Lake Minnetonka. So there's like lots of things that I'm like, oh, I know where that is. Oh, I know what they're talking about. So it's just kind of been fun for me as someone who's like familiar with Minnesota. So as I said, they are both like coming into the situation with baggage, but I think the thing that I like with this versus how it kind of played out in the Emily Henry book, and even how it played out with Reckless, like Reckless, it was Winter had damage and Theo was helping her. In Happy Place, there was like baggage and damage happening, but they just continued to inflict it on one another. And in this circumstance, like Jacob and Brianna really are there for one another and they keep showing up for one another. And they have almost like an equal opportunity to do so. It just kind of depends where we are in the narrative. I think truly the difference with like Happy Place, dealing with the issues was very burdensome, or dealing with the person's baggage was very burdensome for the other person, which I think is part of the reason that it was hard to root for that couple. Versus here, the way that they show up for each other isn't really seen as a burden. They kind of have like an instinct or an intuition or a knowledge of how to show up for this person, and to them, because they love this person or are so honored to be around them, they don't see it as a burden. It's just a way that they're showing their love and appreciation for that person. We're also getting a little bit of like pining right now, which is very yummy because they've set some like ground rules for how the fake dating situation is going, but they're both like starting to fall for one another and they're like, no, I need to keep it professional. Oh, but I love him. So that's been really like cute and just like so sweet and wholesome to kind of read. Even though there are some like grand gestures kind of going on, I would say that this relationship feels just a lot quieter. It feels like a quieter love. It feels very realistic of like how people show up for each other when you're dealing with issues in a relationship, even though they're only fake dating right now. One thing I will say, that if you have anxiety, depending on where you are at, I think Jacob comes across very realistic in his anxiety. Like a lot of the things that he's concerned about, and like he's like, what's on the menu? How do we park? How do we do all these things? And for me, that's like definitely a way that my anxiety like shows up in my life and kind of like pokes its ugly head out, is I'm like, I need to know, like truly, I would rather have to pee for 2 hours than ask at a restaurant where the bathroom is. So I think that it's a very realistic portrayal, but as I said, depending on where you're currently with your mental health, it could be maybe triggering for some people, I think, because it is so realistic, but I'm finding it very cathartic because I'm in a good spot right now. One thing that I'm really not liking, Jacob says he doesn't like dill, and as someone who thinks that dill is like the most superior like herb spice or whatever, we're not on speaking terms at the moment. If that's my only issue, we're off to a really good start. That's where I'm at the moment. I'm probably going to update you once I finish, and then I will do like a final wrap up of the book and a final wrap up of everything that I've talked about thus far. We'll give out some superlatives. Does that sound fun? Okay, bye. So I end up finishing yours truly on my lunch break today. I got my nails done as well. We got a little blue action going on. So I really liked this book. I really loved how Brianna kept standing up for Jacob time and time again and wasn't embarrassed or wasn't like, yeah, it's such a burden, his anxiety. And, you know, again, like they show up for each other. Like the other person was just willing to make that person comfortable. Even when they were mad at each other, they would still show up in those ways. Hi, Kevin. Even though like fake dating, I think is always like a trope that you kind of have to suspend your disbelief. It actually felt kind of realistic because it felt like he had asked his friend to just pretend to be his girlfriend just to get his family off of his back. And I was like, you know what? I can actually see one of my guy friends doing that. So it wasn't as hard to suspend my disbelief on this one. I also think in comparison, and I'm sorry that I'm comparing Happy Place in this one because I know that like sometimes comparing books is a little unfair because they're just like, they're different books, they're accomplishing different things and all of that. But because I just read them back to back and I see a lot of similarities with the miscommunication trope being used, that I feel like I want to compare them because I enjoyed it in Yours Truly and I didn't like it in Happy Place. And I think because Yours Truly, you're earlier on in the relationship and there's kind of undefined boundaries with the fake dating nature, that it makes sense that there's a lot of miscommunication happening, particularly when they're talking about their feelings, because they feel like they can't want the things that they want. So you do have some like, it comes across more as like pining and like not understanding how, like where the disconnect happened. But I felt like it was remediated on a timeline that made sense for the stage of the relationship that they were in. And again, I really think that this miscommunication issue was really helped by having the 2 points of view, because you got an understanding from both characters and understood where they were coming from during the entire process of them having this miscommunication. This had a good balance of both of the characters being able to show up for one another and just be there for each other. Because I feel like Reckless, it was very much like Theo was loving on Winter, and with Happy Place, it kind of felt like Harriet needed to show up for Win more, but wasn't, but he was showing up for her, so that was kind of like a weird dynamic. I like too that the focus of, you know, who needs a little bit more loving in a different situation or needs a little bit more support transitions throughout the progression of the relationship. So depending on whether they were like earlier on, which is causing Jacob more, you know, more anxiety related issues, versus Brianna having more like relationship based trauma and baggage, and really the further they get in, the more those things are coming up for her. I thought that was really nice to see that kind of fluidity throughout the book. And I just felt like there was a lot of balance in this relationship. All right, so with that, a little bit more serious tone. I didn't quite have as much fun with this one. I still think it's a great book. So I'm giving it 4 stars, which is what I rated the other book in this series. I had a really solid read. I really feel like this reading vlog went a lot better than my dark romance one that I just did. So I'm really happy with how things turned out. So just to kind of like wrap things up, put them in a bow, I think Reckless has the best relationship and the characters are my favorites. Biggest critique with Reckless, however, is Theo winks too much and Winter is a stupid name. Happy Place has the best banter and the best friend group. I think my biggest critique with that one, though, is the relationship. There needed to be more time on the relationship. I needed more healing to go on there. And also dual POV. That, I think, after reading Yours Truly, I really think Happy Place needed a dual POV. And for Yours Truly, I think it had the strongest plot and the best mental health representation by a long shot. Also, since all the heroines are doctors, this one had the most medical-based things. There was a lot of stuff in the hospital. The other two, there's nothing happening that's really medical. So if that's something you were looking for, Yours Truly is a better pick out of the 3. And I think Yours Truly really takes the cake for the most balanced relationship and the most realistic relationship. I think my biggest critique with Yours Truly is that we don't get enough time after the conflict has been resolved. And I just need like this much more time. Like this much. I'm not asking for a ton. I just want like one more scene to kind of like wrap things up and make me feel like they're solid, they're good. Final ratings for everything. Again, Happy Place was 3.5. Reckless, I'm giving a 5. And Yours Truly, I'm giving a 4. With that, thank you so much for being here. Let me know, have you read any of these books? I know that Yours Truly and Happy Place are pretty popular for traditionally published, and Reckless is a really like anticipated release for the indie community. So I would would love to hear what your thoughts are on any of these books. Do you have any books that are similar? Apparently, I like reading books that have medical doctors for heroines. So if you've got any recommendations there, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. I am still new, so I do notice when people subscribe. I do notice when people comment, and I do notice when people like it. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, wherever you are. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.